Hey guys, welcome to another With Friends episode of Unjuggle the Struggle. Today we're talking with Tara Benoit, who competed as an elite athlete, wrote a best-selling book, she survived a SCAD heart attack, and now she's on a mission to help women stop sacrificing their health just to prove their worth. Tara, thank you so much for being here today. I cannot wait to see where this conversation takes us.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I remember the first time I met you, like I saw you from across the Amberly Lago event, and she's in this like fire engine red pants. And I knew that I had to go up to you and just be like, yes, like you're making such a statement and I love it. Little did I know that like you were representing your story inside and out. I would love for you just to tell anybody listening today, like a little bit more about your story and who we're actually talking to.
Yes, I would love that. And you know, it's so funny. I remember you sending me a message when we got back from the event after I met you, and you asked me where I got the pants. Like I had on these bright red pants with rhinestones all over them with the matching blazer, and you were just loving it. And it just made me so appreciative because I do really try to wear red a lot because it's part of my story with my heart. And it just wore, I just said, oh, she's the best. Thank you.
Oh, I noticed.
Kind of hard not to.
In all the right ways. All the right ways. So yeah, tell us more about your story.
Yeah. So my story starts, there's many phases to my story, but I will tell you, in 2023, I was set that year to what I thought was going to be the best year of my life. I think a lot of us do that where we set up where this is the year we're going to do this and that's the year we're going to do this. And we put all our eggs in the basket. We work towards a goal. And for me, I had been a competitive athlete on and off for over 25 years. And I decided I was going to become a pro athlete that year. And I competed in fitness and bodybuilding. I loved it. It was my sport. I started lifting weights when I was 16. Primarily, I started to help overcome with an eating disorder that I have, unfortunately, that a lot of women struggle with body image. And lifting weights and being in the gym really helped me develop a sort of strength and confidence with my body that healed over time. But any woman who's listening to this knows that that is a forever project for themselves. Keep going because it will get better. But to go back to 2023, I was in the best shape of my life. I had been working with coaches off and on. I built a gym in my house during COVID to get to this goal. And so I was what I thought was sort of at the peak of my physical condition. I looked great on the outside. I was thriving in my business. I'm a corporate CEO for a recruiting company I founded. And I was just on all cylinders going every day, And again, we do that as women. We're always piling more on what we can do. In our society really dictates and validates for us. The more we do, the more you get, the more you should do. And so that's all I really knew. And it was okay. It was really sort of that push that I loved. And so in May of that year, I started not feeling good. And I woke up one night and I had this sharp pain through the left side of my chest. And I really wasn't sure what it was, but I had just had COVID. And I thought, maybe that was COVID. Maybe I was laying down too long. And it was enough that I noticed, and I talk about it in my book, and I sat up, and it happened again and again over a 5-minute period, but then it went away. And so the week went on, and I know most women do, we just keep going. And there really wasn't anything to do at that point other than to remember that it was something that happened. It wasn't something I'd ever felt before, but what was I supposed to do at that point? Because I sort of felt fine after, aside from being tired. And so fast forward a couple days later, I was getting my kids ready for school at the time. I have 2 boys. They were 6 and 8. So they were like jumping on my back, and I was like a jungle gym to them.
All the normal boy things.
Yeah. Like, school, they're, and all of a sudden I had this pain in my heart that felt like 2 hands were over it, squeezing it very tight. And I had this electric sort of electric shock feeling, tingling in my hands, all the way up my arm, into my jaw, into my back. I instantly knew something was wrong, but I kept a straight face. I didn't want to worry them like we all do. I drove them to school, immediately had my mother bring me to the emergency room. And thankfully, they brought me right in. Young woman presenting with chest pain. And I thought, okay, this is great. Like, I'm right in. They're going to figure out what's going on. But I will tell you, looking back, it is very bizarre to feel your heart, not in a heart racing kind of way, but to feel a muscle. Like if you had a muscle you pulled working out or running or doing yoga and you kind of feel that achy feeling, that's what it felt like for me. I could actually feel the organ itself. And so they did the test, they came in, and pretty quickly, I would say within an hour or two, the urgency of me being there sort of went down and down and down. And one of the doctors, this young male doctor, came in and he looked at me and he said, we can't find anything wrong. We think you had an anxiety attack. And I looked at my mom and I sort of laughed, inside. I've had many anxiety attacks and I knew it wasn't that. So I told him that, and he said, well, it could be from COVID and we have to send you home. We can't find anything. So all the tests, the blood work was fine, the EKG was fine. And so I left that day with the same pain in my chest, but without any diagnosis other than it could be from COVID or an anxiety attack.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I went home. That was on a Friday. And then went through the weekend, lived my life, did the things that I do, sort of a little bit back a little because I knew something was wrong and that chest pain was still there. And then Saturday night, I woke up out of a dead sleep with excruciating pain in my jaw and my back. And looking back, honestly, though, I didn't know what it was. The heart was the last thing that I didn't think it was the heart. It wasn't even on my radar. Why would it be? I'm young, I'm fit. I don't have any other cardiovascular risk factors. And so I woke up, I took some Advil, tried to go back to bed, tossed and turned all night. And then Sunday morning came. And that's sort of when it happened. I was standing in my kitchen and making coffee, and this lightning bolt, like I always think of the 4th of July when you hear and see all the fireworks all at once, like at the end when it's like the big, yeah. It was that in my chest and head to toe. It almost, I thought I was dying. Actually, it was head to toe sweating, this numbing feeling everywhere. I started falling down. My husband had to call 911. And get this, I was laying on the floor in our house and I had the paramedics over me with the EKGs on, and it was still showing normal.
What?
And they still did not know what was wrong. And I was short of breath. I was in pain. The room was spinning. And so they brought me back to the hospital. They drew my blood and the doctor came in and said, well, he sat down. He looked really serious. And I looked at him and I didn't really know what I thought he was going to say, but he proceeded with, we found something in your blood that's elevated. It's your troponin levels. It's a protein in your blood. And when that is elevated, it indicates heart damage. And then everything after that was kind of a blur because as soon as he said heart, I laughed. I honestly laughed. And
you're like, there's no way.
No, there's no way. It took, yeah. And so they sent me to Boston, which is about 30 minutes from where I live. And I stayed in the triage area at a cardiac center there for hours and hours. And it was a 24-hour plus experience there before I was actually brought into cardiac catheterization lab. And where they, just for your viewers, cardiac catheterization is really important diagnostic procedure where they put a tube through your groin or your wrist. They can put dye in and it can read and really tell what's going on with your heart. So if you have blockages in your heart or anything. Well, that doctor, I was laying on the operating room table with my arms out to the side, TVs on the wall with my heart image on the TVs. It was wild to see that. And I was awake. I remember everything. And he said to me, we don't think anything is wrong, but we take your symptoms seriously. Okay. So 5 minutes later, he spoke up again, except this time his voice had changed. And he said, well, we found something. And I looked at him, and that's the first time I ever heard the word SCAD. He said, you have a tear in your artery in your heart. It's called spontaneous coronary artery dissection. You had a rare heart attack. And I always like to say that moment, oh, I'm getting teary now. That
Oof.
moment there was a part of me that died in that moment. I didn't know it at the time, but I really laid there with really two thoughts. One, I felt great that I was validated and I knew something was wrong and I was being diagnosed. So that felt good in a sense. But then also, what is SCAD? How am I
Yeah.
going to live with it? And now what does my life mean living with this?
Yeah.
And all I could think about was him walking out to talk to my husband, who was in the waiting room, who was then calling my mother, and just their reactions to all of it. So, yeah. Oh, I have chills.
Oh, same. I know. Oh, so you get this diagnosis.
Hmm.
It's like the scariest. I mean, you're on your kitchen floor thinking that you're dying.
Yeah.
Fast forward, now you have this diagnosis, and life, quite literally, will never be the same.
Never.
So, tell me more about your journey, because I am like buckled in for this. I am captivated by the way that you're like, keep
Yes.
going. What
So,
happens next?
they put me in the hospital for a week, and my roommate was 90 years old, and I was on the cardiac floor unit at a hospital in Boston with, I believe there was 30, maybe 30 to 40 other patients. I was by far the youngest, and at that point, I never felt so alone in my life because I didn't look like a traditional cardiac patient. I didn't act like
Yeah.
a traditional cardiac patient. And more importantly, I had spent my entire life taking care of my body in a way that I felt prevented me from being in that situation. So my body and I were so disconnected. I hated her. I was so upset
Mm.
that she did that. And that's kind of what my thought process was at the time. And I just couldn't believe I didn't trust her. So with what happened with SCAD, when your heart tears like that, there's a lot of different ways that it can heal. One, you might need open heart surgery, which thankfully I did not. You could have stents put in, which would prevent the tear from stripping either further, or, which is what happened to me. Thankfully, I did not need any of that because of the location of the tear. It was too low in one of the arteries. They were afraid it would tear more. So I was put on like 4 different medications and had like major restrictions, which for that person at that time was a death sentence, but at
Yep.
least I didn't need a huge surgery, right? And so
Yeah.
SCAD also can reoccur. You can have multiple ones, and they don't know a lot of reasons why this happens, although hormones, stress, nervous system regulation, there are a lot of different possible factors why it can happen, but predominantly we don't have enough research on women's heart. And when I
Yeah.
found that out, that's when the fire really lit in me, because I said, oh, no, 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 no. Like, I'm not going down like this. I had a doctor walk in while I was at the hospital and hand me a piece of paper that had all the things listed all the things that I could no longer do. And at the top of the page it was actually a man. It was a diagram of a man lifting a weight. And now this was May. I was supposed to compete in London in September. This is something that, tears started pouring out of my eyes. And I remember looking at him and saying, okay, well, that's fine. I can't lift weights, but how long? Like, I can just go back next year. And that's when
Yeah.
he said, no, Tara, you don't understand. Never. You can't ever lift heavy weights again. And you're talking to someone who I was leg pressing over 800 pounds in the gym and lifting 55-pound dumbbells. I was a power lifter. And it was my
Wow.
identity. It was my identity.
100% an identity.
Identity.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know how to process it at the time. And
Yeah.
so to answer your question, I was there for a week. I went home and I felt very lost. I didn't feel like the doctor who I saw at the time really made me feel seen as a woman, as a diagnosis. So I was searching high and low for new doctors, new cardiac rehab centers, anyone who could say, I've treated a patient like you and I'm going to help you. I've treated a female, I've treated a woman, I've treated an athlete, a young mom, someone who's afraid that she's going to die on her kids, none of that. No one could say
Yeah.
that to me. I tirelessly went in and out of appointments, in and out of cardiac rehab, crying hysterically that this was going to happen to me again. I wasn't going to be able to recover. And if I did, I was not going to be okay. I wasn't going to be able, I was mentally not going to be okay anymore. And
Yeah. Who were you going to be?
yeah, and that's a really important fact here for women in any diagnosis is that you physically can recover from something, but what does it
Yeah.
do to you mentally?
Yeah.
And we don't talk about this enough. And, you
Mm-mm.
know, we're supposed to always bounce back and we can be strong and I get that and I am, but we also deserve to be the best version of ourselves at all times. And being that I have always lived in that role model of being that type of person. Now, you know, I'm laying on the couch. I can barely walk up a flight of stairs. I'm on medications that make me sleep most of the day. I'm staring at my
Mm-hmm.
gym bag in the corner. I can barely take calls from my clients. And no one's telling me
It's going to be
how
okay.
how this is going to be in a couple of years. I didn't know any other SCAD survivors. And so I ended up finding in when I say due diligence, for all the listeners here, if there's ever something that you go to the first doctor or the second doctor and you don't like what they say or you don't feel a connection, do not stop. You have to keep going. Because if I didn't keep going, I never would have found the care team I have now. And when I I ended up finding Mass General Hospital has a specific unit for SCAD. There was a
Wow.
year wait. There was like a year wait list, and then there was a 3-month wait list, and there was a month wait list, and then I got on the wait, and then I called every day, and I ended up getting an appointment. This team of doctors, I always say, saved my life. Not in the moment of the SCAD in the hospital, but of being seen as a woman, saying to me, "We have patients like you. We can help you, support you, and this is going to be who you are, and you're going to be okay." The value
Yeah.
in that is so astronomical to me. And I want all medical professionals listening to know that you have such a power to help people get to a different place. It's not always about the diagnoses, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so powerful. So powerful. So you find this incredible support team.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, and because you start feeling so seen,
Yep.
that's the first time that mentally things start shifting for you.
Yep.
Is that right? Like where like,
Yep.
okay, maybe that's
Yep.
where you get just this tiny spark of hope
Mhm.
is what it
Yep.
is, right? And like
It
the
was. Yep.
smallest ounce of hope, the
Yep.
way that it can create a ripple, you
Yeah.
just got to find that ounce of hope.
Yeah, it really was. It was tiny. It was like a tiny
Yeah.
little star. But, you know, I dug deep and one of the things every day that I knew is that my boys were watching me. They were watching me and they were seeing what I was doing. And despite being in a really bad place, I wanted them to know what it took to rise when you fall that fast and when you fall that hard. And it took a while though. So for the first year, I actually had a really hard time saying the word heart attack for the first full year. And I didn't actually even say that in front of my boys. I didn't shield them from what was going on, but I didn't necessarily say certain words or talk about it. And then after the year, I started talking about it more to them. And then it went full on. We were going to events. They were wearing SCAD t-shirts. They talk about it all the time now. They saw me speak. And it really cultivated into this, you know, this continuation of they're seeing it and it's empowering. And I am
Yeah.
giving something to them that is so undescribable, you know, and caring for myself in that way. And, you know, yes, I could not lift anymore. Yes, I was miserable and didn't want to accept the fact, like so many times when we're transforming into something, we have to let go of so much. And for a period of time, I know at least for me, I'm hanging on. Like I am
Yeah.
like, God, universe, I don't care. I'm not doing this. Like I still want
Yeah.
that version of me back. And the thing is, you can't become and you can't step into who you're supposed to be. Oh, if you are hanging on to any part of who you were. Oh, I
You
can't.
can't. I know. I know. So good. Because you can't. You just can't. And I mean, we've talked about this just even as entrepreneurs and what that looks like in the way that our businesses have transformed even in the first couple months of this year alone. And
Yes.
how like we prayed for growth. And I'm sure that you're in that moment, you're like praying, hey, help me get over this. And yet there's still like I just want it to be how it was. I just want it to be how it was. I just want it to be how it was. Even though, I know even too in my own story, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I want no part of how it was. I say that. I'm like, I want a different life. I want a different career. I want a different trajectory. I want to do different things. I want different impact. And yet, one of those, like, if I'm being honest with myself, there are still layers that I'm shedding of like, okay, but I really like how that particular thing used to be. Can we maybe just like sprinkle a little bit of that into the future? And it's like, no. And it's this like stretching, and it's this untethering, and it's like this beautiful breaking.
Yes.
It's this beautiful breaking. And like how you said, like letting it go.
And just when you think you've shed all of it, isn't it so interesting how all of a sudden there's so many more layers, and you think to yourself, wait a second, I just did all of that already. I don't have any more left. That is like the extra stretch. Remember that? What's the cartoon? I'm not sure. Gumby. Yeah, Gumby. Like you're stretching, you're like Gumby.
And he's like, I can't. And he's like, oh, yes, you can. That is what it feels like. Okay, so I feel like even before, like we've got to I want to round out your story because it gives so much hope to like where you are today. Oh, and please will you share the story? You shared it with me at Amberly's event about the amount of money that you raised and how.
Oh, yes.
Please, will you share that story? Because I think, again, when you're talking about like hope and faith and being stretched, and you cannot be stretched anymore somehow, some way. And then when you do.
I remember that story. That's so wild. I love that. Yeah. So I was American Heart Association. I was nominated for Women of Impact, and I ran a campaign. It was my first time running. And at the time, I really had to focus on my business. After my heart attack, my business, my corporate level recruiting company I had founded was really going under, due in part really to the economy, but masked with my health now. I had a really difficult time keeping up. I was doing a lot of pro bono work because I felt pulled into the direction of that. So I was campaigning and sort of being a heart advocate and speaking and doing all of these things. And so I decided I was running, and it just filled my cup so much to be part of that community. And the American Heart Association is absolutely amazing. And so, but I struggled with the decision because it was taking me away from, actually working and making money to do, the fundraising. And so I ran the campaign. At the time, it was, I think, 6 weeks or 8 weeks. I can't recall. But at the end of the campaign, I ended up raising, do you remember what it was? My memory is horrible.
Oh my gosh. I thought it was like 11,000 or something. I thought it was like something like that.
It was 11,000. Thank you. I ended up raising 11,000, which I thought was phenomenal. And, I submitted it in, and we did all this stuff. That very next day, I got a check in the mail. This has nothing to do with the American Heart Association. I got a check in the mail from the government that was like back something that they owed us on taxes. And I opened up the check, and the check was 11,000. And I sat there, and if you ever want to feel like divine intervention, that was that moment where I closed my eyes and I said, thank you, God. Thank you. Like this was meant for me to do. And it's such a great example of sometimes things come to you in ways that you're not going to see or believe if you ask for it, because our mind and our perception of how we can get things is only as good as what we've ever had. So if something comes in a different way, you're not going to expect it. And so part of what I'm doing now is opening all those channels to be able to allow things to happen and come into my life in ways that I don't know. And the more you're able to do that, the more it is going to happen to you. And that kind of comes into what I'm doing now. So,
and for me, I've seen that there's two things that happen. Like you have to be, first off, like there has to be space. So that's part of that growing. That's part of that shedding. Like there's if there's no room in the cup for more like goodness, like you got to make space. So that's kind of the first part of transformation that I talk a lot about with like my clients. And then the second part is how well do you receive? Because you could be given opportunities all day long, but like literally be blind to them
Yep.
because that whole receiving thing, especially as high achieving women, we think we have to earn it. We think we have to go out and get it. We think we have to push for it. And if it's easy, it wasn't worth it. Like we're told all of these things. And so that receiving piece is something I see us all have to work on as well.
I think that is a struggle for most women, to be honest with you, the receiving part of things. And this is a good segue into sort of what I'm doing now, because prior to my heart attack, I was taking care of myself, but I thought I was taking care of myself in the right way. And many parts of what I was doing was correct. I will say that. But the high achieving, the constant high achieving, the not listening to the root cause of things that were going on in my body and just pushing harder, going longer, adding more things. Like I thought that was taking care of myself. And ultimately it wasn't. And so now coming full circle, I have believed and do believe that how I took care of many parts of my life saved my life, with health and nutrition, how I care for my body, how I work out, and paying attention to especially my environments and how I care for myself, like holistically, full circle, got me not only save my life, but helped me heal the way that I did. And during that transition of coming out with my other company going under, I decided, you know what, this is my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. I actually, funny story, actually graduated from college with an exercise physiology, movement science degree with an undergrad in psychology. So my love for the body and mind connection has always been there. And this was, I think, God's way of saying, this is what you're meant to do. I absolutely love women. I love working with anyone and helping them become a better version of themselves. And that's what I'm doing now. So I went back to school last year for functional medicine, nutrition. I have the other part of the background. So I am launching a coaching program. It's actually called the Vital Executive.
Woo!
It's launching in a couple weeks. And the Vital Executive is really a 6-month functional health mentorship program that will help high achieving women become the best version of themselves by looking at root cause symptoms and addressing them so that they feel and look the best, whether that's gut dysfunction, metabolism reset, weight resistance, hormone balance, because functional medicine looks at how all of the systems in your body interconnect, not just one. And I believe that you can heal any part of your body if you look at that approach.
Absolutely. All of it. So for someone, okay, so let's give like some real practical takeaways. So if someone is, let's say, you know, she's the high achieving woman, she's listening to this right now, and she's like, man, I darn well know I am running on fumes. Like, where does she even start?
That's a great question. So the first thing I would say is really look at everything that you're doing and stop asking, what should I do next? Like, what should I do next? And really take a look, like take a way step back, which I know is very difficult because I was that person. And for me, I'll tell you, I have to be in a quiet room without my family around or my kids around or in the office. Sit in your car in a parking lot. Like, how many women have done that? Like, sit in a car for, half an hour. I was in my car in a parking lot at the store the other day because I needed, with the heat blasting, you know, I'm in New England. It's 4 degrees here. Well, is it cold?
Yeah. Now I'm in Denver. It's been beautiful, but hey, knock on wood.
You know, you really need to evaluate what is driving what is going on in your body. So that kind of ties into that part. The second, don't add anything else to your plate. Stop the ad, reduce the ad. And I think the third would be, what can I take off my plate? I mean, these all kind of go along. And sometimes it's hard to see that when you're in it and you think, I can't, this is my schedule, this is how it is. But I would write down, I'm a big fan of writing down what your schedule is. So some things that I have done, Get up a little bit earlier. I know that people hear that and they're like, oh my goodness. But I started getting up before my kids got up. Even 15 minutes, I started meditating. Meditation is huge. I'm a big, big advocate of meditating. When I first started, I hated it. I thought that I always meditated because I've been practicing yoga for 20 years, but this is different. This is intentional, laying down, sitting down, listening to a calm app. I started with like 1 minute because my brain was going all over the place that I couldn't actually, but now I'm up to 15 minutes. I do it every single day, and it has changed my life. It calms my nervous system down. I would highly recommend putting this into a practice. The second thing you can do is, what are you doing at night? Get off of your phone, get off your laptop at least an hour before you go to bed, minimally.
Yeah, makes a difference.
To yourself. The laundry does not need to be folded. You do not need to clean. You do not, I mean, clean up. I'm not saying you can't clean, but I'm trying to really drive home. And believe me, I'm OCD. That choosing yourself, choosing rest, choosing to come back is actually going to set you to go forward. It is an achievement. But so many of us, and for so long, we were told by doing that, that is not going to get you to the next, you're lazy, you're this, you're that, like you're not taking time for yourself. That's not true. I mean, actually, statistically, I believe this is true. I'd have to look at my stats, but I believe that the United States of America is the only country that doesn't legally require you to take time off of work, like from a legal standpoint. Europe, I believe legally you have to take 3 weeks off during the summer. I have to go back to my recruiting days, but I remember hearing a stat like this. So we need to do better for ourselves. Our country is the heaviest it's ever been, but yet we are spending the most amount of money we ever have on wellness and fitness and health.
Yeah.
But yet we are at the height for heart disease and obesity. So there is
something ain't working, right? Like something ain't working.
Something is not working. And I will tell you, one in 3 women will die of a cardiovascular event.
Which is that gives me chills, and not in the right way. Like that's awful. That's awful. And it's because, I mean, like all the things we've heard it before, the body keeps score, the things that sit in the nervous system, like it's not just, those aren't buzzwords. That's a real thing. There's so much science behind it. There's so many like even unexplainable things that prove that that's true. I always say that rest is a strategy. And the only way that I can actually like confidently and comfortably say those words is because I've done the work, because it didn't always think that rest was, like you said, rest was being lazy. Rest was, what do you mean you need a break? You can't keep up. Rest was weak. Like, I mean, and it's just crazy to even say those things out loud, but those were real postures that I took, in fact, to the point where it was like, well, because I don't rest is why I'm so successful, because I keep pushing through is why I get the promotions and the blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't sustainable. This is quite literally killing me in ways I don't even see, but I can feel.
You can feel. And that is such a good point, because a lot of us get to a point where, we're successful on paper. We have the career, we have the family, we drive the car we want, we have the gym membership to the gym we want to go to, but we're unhappy. We're waking up every day miserable or depressed or not feeling fulfilled. But why is that? What is the case? Or we, to tie it back into health, maybe you're dealing with insomnia or anxiety and depression. Or I know for me, after my heart attack, I went into early menopause because of the heart attack. So I was dealing with hormone imbalances that were horrible, and the symptoms that went along with it. I also had massive gut dysfunction. I suffered from a condition called SIBO, which a lot of people might know about, which really, all of a sudden, all of these things in my body were happening where I felt like I didn't have any control. And in order to heal all of those things, it wasn't from taking medication. It wasn't from just like a quick fix. It was figuring out why this is happening, addressing it. And I will tell you, I just turned 49 last month. And I feel the best I have ever felt because of how I am taking care of myself. And I am so excited to just see how this is going to continue, because
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that I'd be in this position. And I always thought that doing more, working with less was going to get me to where I needed to be. And I am in the complete opposite of that. Now I do
Yeah.
have struggles. Believe me, this is a very transformational time. But in terms of my health and
Yeah.
how I feel and how I look and how I'm showing up for myself and my body, I just couldn't ask for anything more right now.
So you mentioned like something that gave me chills was when, your body and you were disconnected. So I'm curious, how do you feel now? Like what's the relationship you have when you look at your body now?
Yeah. Yeah. I just got chills when you asked me that. We've worked really, we love each other.
Yeah.
I have a very profound love for her, and I've done a lot of healing, both with past trauma. Writing my book was very helpful because I dove into my past. I drove into what's going on and really leaning into what fills my cup. You hear this all the time, like, do what makes you happy. And a lot of time doing what makes us happy also takes us away from the structure of what have been doing, or the stability of what we've been doing. So building
Yeah.
out this new business for me right now, I am so passionate about it because I know it's going to help women, it's going to help people, and that fills me up. But it's unstable because you're
Yep.
walking away from something else that you've built. But I believe so much in it, and I believe so much in other people. And I also believe that anybody can do this. Anyone who has a dream or a vision or belief. And when I talk to people, I always see it in them. Just anyone, they'll say like, "Oh, I want to do this." And I literally could see them doing that. I'm like, "Then do it." I mean, and
Yeah.
it's not easy, but it's possible. And 2.5 years from my SCAD. Well, actually, no, it'll be 3 years in May. We'll just leave it at that. 3 years in May. And it has felt like the longest 3 years. But at the same time, look what has happened in 3 years.
Yeah.
I had a
It's
heart
also a gift. That's a huge gift. A lot of folks, right, when they talk, they're like, where did 3 years go? And I'm in that same boat where it's like, man, this has been, I'm celebrating 2 years out of corporate here in a couple months. And it's like, this has been the longest 2 years of my life. And you're like, wow, I actually I kind of got some time back. Feels
Yeah.
like I was able to do some things. Again, doesn't mean it was easy, but
Mhm.
like that's a gift too, to be able
Yeah.
to say that. I recognize that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time. It's time. I also think that, and I always say this, most women will build a strategy for their life. They'll build a strategy for their business. They'll build a strategy for their family. And strategy is simply, making your kids lunches, picking them up from school, like what
Yeah.
your schedule is. You build a strategy for everything. It's time you build a strategy for you, for
So
you, and
true.
for your health, and for not only how long you're going to live, but to optimize your life and your health and how long and the quality of how you're going to live.
The quality is so big.
So big.
Oh,
So big. Yeah.
so good. So
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Like, thank you too for just being so vulnerable about the growth. And two, I'm just, even as we're talking, I'm putting timelines together. I'm like, that is absolutely wild to go from on your kitchen floor thinking that you're dying, for thinking it's going to be the best year of your life, like business is booming, health is booming, everything,
Yeah.
to have this journey and to be here 3 years later. Like it's so beautiful the way that also too, like the way that God uses us and he chooses us. He
Yeah.
chooses us to have these stories and to choose and to have these impact and to put us in these places. And
He's
so
funny. I always say he's
he's
really funny.
he's so funny. I know. Oh my gosh, you and I know the same God.
Yeah, me too. He is
Yeah,
kind of funny.
He's
Oh yeah.
hilarious.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So I want to just tell us, I know that you told us a little bit about your program, but tell us a little bit about your program, about your book, where listeners can find you. And then I've got 2 more questions and then we'll wrap up the podcast.
All right, awesome. So you can find me at Tara Benoit Official on Instagram. You can also find me at Tara Benoit on LinkedIn. I'm pretty big on there. Or my website, tarabenoit.com. My book, Torn Heart, as you can see right there, is available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And the Vital Executive Coaching Program is launching in the next couple of weeks. You will find that on both LinkedIn and on Instagram. And you'll be able to message me. We can set up a call, talk about it. I'm offering free consultations for sort of going through vital mapping and all this amazing thing. So just stay tuned.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I cannot wait to see who God is calling into this group for you, like in the way that you're going to just transform their lives. It's going to be so good. So good. Okay, Tara. So we end the podcast the same way every time. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Okay. Yep. So the first one is I talk a lot about quitting the things no longer serving you. So when I say that phrase, quitting the things no longer serving you, what comes to mind?
Setting boundaries in your life to protect your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be boundaries of people. It could be boundaries you set for yourself on what you're choosing to let into your life, what you're choosing to do, what you're choosing not to do, and understanding the difference.
Yep. That makes sense. That is right along the lines of everything that you said. Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. And then the second question actually came from the last podcast guest. Okay. So I had Darcy Elizabeth on. She's a business mentor, a business and a wellness mentor. She does phenomenal things in network marketing. She's just very similar to you. She is passionate about helping women just uncomplicate their wellness. And so I actually was able to share that you were going to be the next guest. And so she wanted to know, she said, what should a woman in her 30s be doing today to be checking on and keeping that heart health good?
Yeah, that's a great question. So number 1 is, well, there are so many things. Stay in touch with your doctor and ask your doctor and push back at your annual appointment. I just read something recently that said when women go to their annual doctor's appointments, there's 3 things that come up to the appointment, and not one of them is the heart. So we need to start having conversations in the medical community about our hearts, about our heart history, about our family history, and about what kind of testing or conversations we can start having early that can put us in better situations for later. So just from an advocacy standpoint, we need to start talking about it, which is something we're not doing. And that is 100%. From a health standpoint, absolutely nutrition and exercise. Yes, I did those things. But for me, I think overdid those things and I wasn't taking care of my nervous system. So for women in the 30s, I think they really need to pay attention to all of those: nutrition, exercise, and regulating their nervous system.
So good. I'm so glad that you said that, because I think, I think sometimes we have a tendency to be like, oh, that's her story, but I'm different. Or, oh, that's what happened to that person, but I'm different. And normally that's a pretty normal reaction to the things that we don't want to see. And so I would just say, any listener is like, oh, well, hey, that was a great story. I think I'm fine. Or like, oh, I wasn't the bodybuilder, so I'm not overdoing it. I just really love that you put that out there. Like, hey, it's the right kind of nutrition for your body. And I know that's what you really help women do. It's the right kind of exercise for your body. And then that third component that not enough people talk about that brings it all together with a nice, pretty bow is the regulation of the nervous system.
It's 100%. And it's so important, and you're so right. anybody listening, you don't have my story, but you have your story, and everybody has a story, and it could be anything. And the one thing we need to remember is it all connects us. What my struggle is my struggle, but what your struggle is your struggle, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be the same. But what ties us together is understanding that for us, that trauma is a trauma. And trauma lives in your body, and trauma lives in the cells in your body. Excuse me. And the only way to heal from that is to take care of your body. And if you don't, that's going to manifest into other things.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
So good. Yep. Okay. And then last but not least, now, my friend, it's your turn to leave a question for the next guest.
Okay.
So sometimes I know who the next guest is. Sometimes I do not.
Okay.
And it can be whatever comes to mind, whatever you think, like what's one question you want to leave for the next guest?
Do we know the next guest?
I actually do not know the next guest.
Don't know the next guest.
I don't. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's see. A good question, Gemma. What do you think a good question for the next guest? My bull mastiff is like laying right now. 110 pounds. I would say, what is one thing in your life that you wish you would have done differently?
That's a good one.
It's a good one, but is it too negative?
No, not at all. Watch. You answer. You answer. What's one thing in your life you wish you would have done differently?
I don't think I would have done anything differently, because I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't do all of those things wrong. No.
I see that. I hear that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I hear that.
I would do something differently.
I would have done differently.
What would you have done differently? It's a really deep question.
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, so yes, there is a piece of my brain that goes to that, that goes to the, hey, if I would have made different choices, I wouldn't be here today. And I really appreciate, I really love the person staring back at me in the mirror today. And I love our story, and I love what we've been through. And so I have just massive appreciation for that. I think maybe what's one thing in my life I wish I would have done differently. Something that's coming through for me is like, I really did. And regardless of where it came from, I really did kind of think that there was only one path to quote unquote success. I really thought that the one path to success was like, you do well in school, you go to college, you get a good job, you work your way up, you promote, you be valuable. Then that's how you get a steady paycheck. I really, for so long, thought that there was only one pathway to success.
Yeah,
and so maybe something I wish I would have done differently is I wish that I would have maybe gotten more curious sooner around like, hey, are there other ways to do this? Because that's very natural for me to be that problem solver and to be like, okay, hey, if here's option A and B, what's option C? And if I look back, how I defined success, I didn't gift that, what's option C? I didn't gift myself that until I was in my early 30s. And I wish maybe I would have done that a little bit sooner.
I love that answer, and it inspired me to change my answer.
Okay.
It just made me think of something. I wish I wasn't so hard on myself at such a young age, because I have had this such driven personality since my whole life. And so when I graduated college, I wish I would have traveled more or gone out and done the things. Now, granted, at the time I had a massive panic disorder and PTSD issue. I don't even say it's not an issue. It's serious. That prevented me from doing a lot of things. So there's that. But at the same time, I wish I would have just allowed myself to have more fun and not to be so serious so young. Yeah.
More fun.
That's a good
I
one.
love.
More
You know
fun.
what?
Yeah.
What's so fun about it is like when we just take a hot second to challenge ourselves to answer those kind of wonderful questions, by the way. Um, right? Like we are gifted this moment in time where we go, dang, I can still do it different. Like I can
Yeah.
be so intentional today about having so much freaking fun. I can be so intentional today about saying, "Hey, like be more open-minded of what success might look like in this season too." Like
Yes.
it's
Yes.
a good thing. It's a good thing.
Such a good thing. And I'll tell you, like you, I always had this very streamlined vision of what success was. And since my heart attack, it has exploded into something different. I mean, I flew for the first time last year. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes, I remember.
Release event. That was the first time I had ever flown by myself. And then I flew again later in the year. And now all I want to do is travel, but yet I can't. So that's God being funny. So because
Yeah.
I'm building out the business. But now at 49, I am reestablishing myself. I'm taking everything that I have built and changing it and moving it into something phenomenal. And I mean, there's days where I question it, but still I think to myself, I am so excited about what it's ahead, the travel that's ahead, the things that I want to see, the opportunities, the people I get to help and serve and do and be. And I want all the listeners to believe that there's a part of them that has that too, even if they can't see what it is, because I couldn't see what it is until recently. And there's still a lot that I can't see. But the one remaining factor is I always believed. I always
Mhm.
believed deep down, even in my lowest moments, I always believed. And if you don't believe, just write it down, because I believe in neuro linguistic programming, where if you believe something, it's going to happen. And that could be just like writing something down, but you have to believe in something, even how small it is, and it will manifest into something bigger.
Always that belief. Oh, so
Oh,
good. Tara, thank you so much. This has been a gift for me. It's met me in the season that I'm at too. So just thank
thank
you
you. This
for
is amazing.
that. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
I am too. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, guys, until next time. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.